Japan. The green pheasant, Japan's national bird, exists nowhere else on Earth, and the Japanese government has declared it sacred enough to survive a nuclear disaster. That's not mythology, that's policy. It appears in ancient folklore as a divine messenger. When Tokyo was firebombed in 1945, its survival in the ruins was taken as a national omen. The green pheasant, Phasianus versicolor, evolved exclusively for the Japanese archipelago. The male's iridescent green plumage, violet blue neck, and red wattled face exist in no related species worldwide. That coloration isn't decorative, it's a survival signal, a territorial broadcast, and a mating display, compressed into one animal. In Shinto tradition, the green pheasant detects earthquakes before humans can. Its distress calls function as an early warning system for a country sitting on 4 tectonic plates. The Nihon Shoki, compiled in 720 AD, records it as a messenger between the earthly and divine realms. Japan didn't design this bird. An island held it in place long enough until it became irreplaceable.
England. England's national animal is a lion. Except England has never had lions. Not in recorded history, not in the wild. The symbol on every royal crest, every football jersey, used to project British power for over 800 years. It never set foot on British soil. The heraldic lion traces back to Richard I in the 12th century, borrowed wholesale from French and Norman aristocratic symbolism. But here's the layer most people miss. Those lions aren't technically lions. Heraldic scholars have documented that the lions passant on England's coat of arms are structurally derived from leopards, the leopard of medieval French heraldry, depicting a lion walking in profile. The distinction collapsed over centuries of mistranslation and myth-making. The leopard became a lion. The lion became the symbol of a nation. Scotland compounded the irony in the opposite direction. Their national animal is the unicorn, a creature that doesn't exist, chosen because medieval Scots believed unicorns were the mortal enemy of lions. Scotland needed a symbol powerful enough to face England down. 2 nations, 1 real island. One picked a predator that never lived there. The other picked an animal that never lived anywhere. Identity was the requirement. Accuracy was never part of the brief.
South Korea. South Korea's national animal once patrolled every mountain on the peninsula. It appeared in creation myths, royal insignia, village shrines. Koreans called it Sangun, mountain lord. For thousands of years, the Siberian tiger wasn't just a symbol, it was a presence. Then, the Japanese colonial government launched a systematic extermination campaign between 1915 and 1942. They killed tigers across the peninsula as an act of cultural suppression. They understood exactly what they were doing. You don't just kill an animal, you kill everything the animal means. The Siberian tiger, Panthera tigris altaica, is the largest felid on Earth. Males reach 660 pounds and nearly 11 feet long, built for ambush hunting in sub-zero temperatures, with broader skulls and thicker fur than any other tiger subspecies. Here's the paradox. South Korea plastered the tiger across the 1988 Seoul Olympics. The mascot was a tiger. The symbol was everywhere. But the animal itself hadn't been confirmed in South Korean territory since the 1920s. The nation built its entire modern identity around a creature it had already lost. The Siberian tiger and Korean civilization shaped each other across millennia. Colonial policy ended that relationship in a single generation. South Korea kept the symbol. The animal was already gone.
Italy. Italy's national animal is the creature that, according to Roman mythology, kept the entire civilization alive. 753 BC, twin infants, Romulus and Remus, abandoned on the banks of the Tiber to die. A she-wolf found them, nursed them. One of those infants grew up to found Rome. No wolf, no republic, no empire, no Western legal tradition, no Catholic Church. A wolf made all of it possible. The Apennine wolf, Canis lupus italicus, is a subspecies found only in Italy. Leaner and smaller than northern European wolves, evolved specifically for the Italian peninsula. By the 1970s, it was nearly gone. Fewer than 100 individuals clinging to the southern Apennines. Then, it came back. No reintroduction programs, no wildlife corridors, no government intervention. Wolves recolonized the Alps naturally, crossing northward from the Apennines on their own. The population now exceeds 3,000 animals across Italy, France, and Switzerland. The animal Rome said built civilization nearly vanished. Then it returned, uninvited, to reclaim the same landscape the myth was written on. Italy didn't protect the wolf. The wolf didn't need Italy to survive. It was always going to come back. The only question was whether anyone would be paying attention when it did.
France. France's national animal isn't a predator. It isn't a mythological force. It isn't even a deliberate choice.
It's a pun. A 2,000-year-old Latin pun that got so far out of hand, it became the symbol of an entire civilization. The word Gallus in Latin means two things simultaneously: rooster and Gaul, the Roman name for the people who inhabited what is now France. Roman writers used the double meaning as a joke, a way of mocking the Gauls as strutting, crowing, and ultimately toothless. The rooster wasn't chosen by the French. It was assigned to them as an insult by the people who conquered them. What followed is one of the most deliberate acts of symbolic appropriation in political history. French monarchs initially rejected the rooster as undignified. Then, the revolution happened. The new republic needed a symbol that wasn't a lion or an eagle. Those belonged to monarchies and empires. The rooster was common. It was loud. It crowed at dawn. The revolutionaries reframed that as announcing a new day for a new France. Within decades, a Roman insult had become a revolutionary icon, stamped on official seals, military insignia, and every French football federation badge ever made. France didn't choose the rooster. Rome chose it for them as mockery. The French kept it anyway, stripped it of the joke, and made it mean something else entirely. That's either an act of cultural genius or the longest case of missing the point in recorded history. Possibly both.
India's national bird since 1963, on every tourism poster, every silk textile, every classical dance costume. A bird so embedded in Indian identity that its feathers appear in depictions of Krishna across 3,000 years of continuous artistic tradition. Nobody questioned what it actually is. Now, the national animal is in fact the Royal Bengal tiger, but for all intents and purposes, we've already talked about tigers in this video, so the peacock's legendary tail, the feature that made it sacred, is not a tail. Anatomically, it's an elongated train of upper tail covert feathers, a completely separate structure, grown and shed every single year. The display that became divine, that became the visual shorthand for beauty across an entire subcontinent, it's a seasonal molt. The god's feathers disappear annually. The deeper strangeness is ecological. That train makes the peacock slower, louder, and more visible to predators. Evolution should have killed it off. Instead, it grew longer over millions of years because peons kept choosing it. Female preference, not survival fitness, built this animal. The most recognizable symbol of a civilization exists because females kept choosing spectacle over safety. India enshrined a bird whose sacred feature is a biological illusion, renewed every year, built by female choice, and designed by pure evolutionary logic to get the animal killed. The peacock was always this. It just took looking closely enough to see it.
Mexico. It's on the Mexican flag, has been since 1821. The founding image of the entire nation, an eagle perched on a cactus devouring a serpent, comes directly from Aztec prophecy. The god Huitzilopochtli told the Mexica people, build your capital where you find that exact scene. They found it on an island in Lake Texcoco. They built Tenochtitlan. That city became Mexico City. The eagle didn't just symbolize the nation, it literally located it. Here's where it fractures. The bird on the original Aztec codices, the bird the prophecy actually described, was almost certainly not a golden eagle. The crested caricature, a common lowland bird the Aztecs called cuautli, fits the physical description and habitat far more accurately. The golden eagle inhabits mountain terrain, nowhere near Lake Texcoco. Mexico's founding image may have been misidentified at the moment of independence, replaced with a more impressive-looking bird that wasn't there. And now, that bird is disappearing. Habitat destruction and illegal hunting have pushed the golden eagle toward endangered status in the country whose flag it anchors. Mexico's founding symbol, possibly the wrong bird to begin with, now vanishing from the landscape the flag was meant to represent. The prophecy said find the eagle. Mexico found one. Whether it was the right one has been in dispute ever since.
Australia. You'll find it on the coat of arms and on every Qantas plane because Australia chose it deliberately because a kangaroo cannot walk backwards. A nation always moving forward. Here's what they don't put on the coat of arms. Australia commercially kills kangaroos at a scale no other country applies to its own national symbol. The entire state is in an all-out war with its national animal. The federal government issues annual quotas. In recent years, over 6 million animals. The red kangaroo, the specific species on the national emblem, is the primary target. Shot at night, by spotlight, under license. Exported as meat and leather to over 55 countries. The ecological argument is real.
Since European settlement removed natural predators and replaced native vegetation with pastoral land, kangaroo populations exploded. Roughly 50 million animals, double Australia's human population. At that density, they compete with livestock, degrade ecosystems, and cause vehicle collisions that kill thousands annually. But the argument against it is harder to shake. Australia didn't choose the kangaroo because it was abundant. It chose it because it was uniquely Australian, an animal found nowhere else on Earth, selected to represent the country's identity to the world. Then that symbol became an industry. The kangaroo cannot walk backwards. The nation it represents has spent decades debating whether it should have killed so many of them in the first place.
North Korea. It's on North Korea's national emblem, on their airline logo. There are statues of it in Pyongyang. The entire country named a national economic mobilization campaign after it. It doesn't exist. The Cholima is a winged horse from Chinese and Korean mythology, said to gallop 400 kilometers in a single stride, so fast no rider could ever mount it. North Korea adopted it in the 1950s during post-war reconstruction. The state needed workers to rebuild at superhuman speed, so they named the campaign after the horse. Factories displayed the symbol. Workers competed for the Cholima medal. Children were taught to embody its speed. Here's where it fractures. Every other nation on this list chose an animal that actually lives in their country. Japan has the green pheasant. Mexico had the golden eagle. Even England's lions were based on real animals. North Korea chose a creature no biologist has ever documented. No habitat can contain it. No extinction event can threaten it. Because it was never there to begin with. A national animal is supposed to say something true about a nation's land, its wildlife, its natural identity. North Korea's says something else entirely. We are not defined by what exists. We are defined by what we demand. The Cholima cannot be lost, cannot be protected, cannot die. It was always just a story a government told about itself.
Russia? Russia never formally chose the bear. The rest of the world chose it for them. And Russia never corrected anyone. For centuries, European powers used the bear to mock Russia. It appeared in foreign political cartoons as a crude, lumbering, dangerous thing, too big, too cold, too wild to be civilized. The image was meant to diminish. Russia absorbed it, kept it, weaponized it. By the 20th century, the bear wasn't an insult anymore. It was a threat. Every other national animal on this list was chosen. By a king, a myth, a prophecy, a committee. Someone made a decision. Japan selected the green pheasant. France inherited its rooster from a Latin pun. North Korea invented its horse entirely. Russia did none of that. Russia became its symbol by refusing to reject a caricature, until the caricature became the identity. Here's the part that changes everything. Over 100,000 brown bears live inside Russia today, the largest concentration on Earth. They are not endangered. They are not protected as a national symbol, because the symbol was never official. They are hunted, trophy hunted, commercially hunted. The animal the world uses to represent Russian power has no formal state protection in the country it supposedly represents. Every national animal on this list is a story a country decided to tell about itself. Russia's story was written by its enemies, and Russia kept it. The symbol was never theirs. It just became too useful to give back.
Before you go, a question people always ask about national animals. Can you legally hunt, eat, or keep any of these? Well, England's lion never existed there. North Korea's animal is fictional. Mexico may have the wrong eagle. France's rooster began as an insult. So the answer is yes and no. In France, Australia, Russia, and Japan, with a permit, the national symbol is a dinner ingredient. Australia even exports red kangaroo's meat to over 55 countries. But this is not your pet. So let's be clear about the rest. England's lion hasn't lived wild in Britain for over 10,000 years, so hunting is moot. Keeping one requires a council license that is almost never granted. South Korea's Siberian tiger is functionally extinct in the wild there. Hunting is very illegal. Keeping one is restricted to accredited zoos, and besides, none exist in the country to find either way. Italy's wolf has been fully protected since 1971. No hunting, no keeping, no exceptions, despite ongoing pressure from farmers losing livestock.
India's Bengal tiger and peacock both carry the highest level of legal protection, with a 7 years imprisonment for anyone who hunts one, especially the peacock. Private ownership is very illegal. They are the most strictly protected animal on this list. Mexico's golden eagle is federally protected, and killing one carries prison time, a penalty with a particularly heavy weight, given that eagle is literally printed on the national flag. North Korea's cholima is a mythological winged horse. You cannot hunt, eat, or keep it. That is either the most or least complicated answer, depending on how you look at it. One country eats its symbol by the million. One country's symbol cannot die because it was never alive. Every other country on this list made a choice about what the animal meant, and then made a different choice about what to do with the actual animal. That gap between idea and reality on animals is what Not Your Pet is about. If you want to keep pulling at that thread, subscribing would mean a lot. New videos go up twice a week, and there is a lot more thread left to pull. Thanks for watching.